So Zach Taylor opened up about the conversation between him and Joe Burrow. And he said it was just a conversation back and forth. He said, leaving it at that, he's got a competitive edge to him that I balance as a head coach because I'm always trying to lead the entirety of the team and balance things. But he's got an edge to him. This is what makes him who he is. I don't want to change that for 1 second, because who he is and what makes him tick is what makes Joe Burrow different from everyone else on the planet, right? That's fantastic. So Joe Burrow, he says it was just a conversation, right? Yeah, just a conversation. That's great. Joe Burrow is doing a sit down with reporters. Yeah. Zach, I don't think we understood or communicated this very well with the team. Dan Pitcher is saying that, yeah, this happens a lot. Him and Zach get into it. And also that him and Dan Pitcher get into it as well. Now, Joe Burrow is going to do a sit down and go as in-depth as possible about his sideline exchange with Zach Taylor. I don't think this was just a conversation, Zach. You know, usually when I just have a conversation with somebody, there doesn't need to be a 21-minute session about that. Your offensive coordinator doesn't come out and say, yeah, no, they get into it a lot. Oh, not a lot, but they get into it more than the public knows. And then also says how him and Joe Burrow get into it. I think this is a little bit more deep-rooted than just a conversation. Which, again, you know, I always say with Zach, he never really answers, like, questions or really provides any details on things. He kind of does the political stance on most of the stuff you ask him. He's like a politician. He gives you the DC dip and twirl, where you're left shaking your head, scratching your head like, did he even tell me anything? Because he'll talk. He will. He'll talk for a good period of time, like a good 5-10 minutes. And not one thing usually answers the questions. Now, this is when he's pressed on hard questions. On simple questions, like about the team, or, hey, listen, what do you like out there today? What do you think of this guy, He'll answer those perfect. And you could tell when you watch a press conference, watch the questions that are more pressing of him versus questions that aren't. Questions that aren't, he will actually, answer them. Questions that are pressing, he gives you the DC dip and twirl. He doesn't give you the direct answer. He just kind of beats around the answer and then just kind of leaves it at that. Now, there's a lot of times reporters, I realize this in some of these press conferences, they don't push him. They don't push him and ask him certain questions because I think they, one, don't want to lose their credentials, and they know, keep asking hard questions, some people can get mad. Which is bullcrap, because that's just how it should be. You should be able to ask anything, but there are some things where coaches just don't want to answer. It is what it is. But for the most part, this is what he does. He's so good at this. And this is a good example of it. Dan Pitcher, to his credit, gave us more of an elaborate response to this. Hey, listen, like, this is just Joe being competitive. He gets into it more often than the public realizes with other people, with Zach Taylor, and also with him. There's more to this than just that. Now, to his point of he's got a competitive advantage, so I balance as a head coach because I'm always trying to lead the entirety of the team. Kinda? I mean, you do have an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator who are supposed to lead their respective units. Yes, as a head coach, your job is to make sure everyone's in line, but that's why you also hire very competent coaches to, help you do your job. It's not all on you. You're not the only one. It's more your whole coaching staff is leading, the team and keeping the team in one direction. I don't know. I feel like this is kind of like, I'm going to completely out of left field here. I don't know why I felt this was the ego statement, but it just felt like an ego statement to me. But he obviously, as a head coach, you are leading your team. That's 100% true. And balancing. But he's got has an edge to him that is what makes him who he is. I don't like... The truth is, right? Because, again, as fans, we know the truth to this. Joe is pissed because he wants to win. And the lack of front office help is why he's getting hit, is why he's taking sacks, is why we're not winning. Because they don't put money toward the defense. They don't put money toward the offensive line. They're not trying to help him win. They say, we pay you $270 million, Joe. You go out there by yourself, booty butthole naked, and you go win the game. That's what they want. And he's pissed because that's not acceptable. I don't think this conversation with Zach, and according to Dan Pitcher, multiple conversations with Zach, is just a conversation. This is a frustrated outlashing? Lashing out, that's a word. Lashing out towards Zach, saying like, I'm pissed off how this is going. And again, the problem is this needs to be addressed because this needs to be something that this is the movement toward the fix. Use this as a catalyst, as the way to fix things. I don't want to change that for 1 second because he is who he is, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, any true competitor is not going to be, is not going to accept this bullcrap. Anyone on this team who's a true competitor will be upset about how this situation is going. So, again, it's just a conversation. I bet it was. I bet there was zero foul language that was expressed in that conversation. That is, you might want to talk to Dan, okay? Zach, what I want you to do while you're balancing the team and you're trying to lead the entire team when you have coaches that also help you, my man, you got to give your coaches credit. You got to say, we as the coaching staff leads the team. Yes, it's your job in the end. You're the top of the branch, but it's as a unit. But clearly, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not a unit, because if it was a unit, then you would have understood that Dan already said it was more than a conversation. If you understood that, you would not have said it's just a conversation back and forth, because Dan already said it was more than this. Beautiful. Who dat?